Alrighty, welcome everyone. Sorry we were running a few minutes late. We're gonna we're gonna get started in just a second, and then we're gonna get started in just a second. We're gonna show a little video.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. We are Premed CC, a student-led organization established in the fall of 2021. Our goal as an organization was to create an online community for pre-medical students at community colleges and universities with the hope of guiding the next generation of diverse and inclusive physicians.
And while we advertise our organization as being for community college students, our events are open to anyone. We realize that finding guidance and mentorship in a pre-med journey can be especially challenging for first-generation pre-med students, people that lack the financial resources, or just those that do not know people in the medical field.
One of the best parts about our events is that they are virtual, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home. We typically have events on Fridays from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. PST, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. PST.
If you aren't able to attend the event, all our sessions are uploaded on our YouTube channel. Many of our sessions will end with Q&A with our speakers. Any questions that you have can be put in the Q&A section on Zoom, and our team members will read them and have them answered.
After you have attended our event, you can log on to our website and complete the quiz, which will contain questions pertaining to our session today.
If you score 70% or higher on the quiz, you'll be awarded a 2-hour mentorship certificate to show that you attended our session today.
If you want to stay connected with our upcoming events or want to tell your pre-med friends about Premed CC, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Premed CC.
So before you begin, Mr. Richards, I will be introducing you to everyone. So hello, Mr. Richards earned his bachelor's degree in philosophy and his master's degree in educational psychology from California State University, Northridge. He currently provides leadership in the areas of recruitment and outreach for the MD, MD MBA, and MD MPH programs at Keck School of Medicine. Prior to his current post in admissions, he worked in the Keck School's curriculum department on examination development for the MD program. He is a passionate, lifelong learner who enjoys speaking with prospective applicants and educational organization representatives about the many opportunities that the Keck School of Medicine has to offer.
Thank you. With that, should I get going? Or
Yes,
you.
sir. Well, thank you again.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it. Always glad to speak to Premed CC students. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. All right. So again, my name is Mike Richards. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Keck School of Medicine. I do a lot of these pre-med, pre-health talks, and I try to just give you information that you can use to help you get into whatever medical school you choose that is right for you. So I'm happy to answer any questions about our program, our selection process. I try to be as transparent as possible. So please feel free to ask questions at the end. I'll talk for about 20 minutes or so, just to give you an overview of the program and our application and selection process. And then I'll talk. Then I'll open up for questions, and please feel free to join in. You can put questions, I guess, in the Q&A section, and I'm going to ask that maybe Edith, Matt, or Jobeen kind of drive that part of the application there. Okay, so Keck School of Medicine. So we are located in about 10 minutes east of downtown Los Angeles in an area called Boyle Heights. It's a predominantly Hispanic area. Our campus is located at our training facility, the Los Angeles General Medical Center. We also have the Norris Cancer Research Hospital on our campus and the Keck Medical Center on our campus as well. We have affiliations with Children's Hospital of LA, which is about 30 minutes from our campus, and a couple of other hospitals in the general greater Los Angeles area. So we have a pretty big footprint in healthcare in this region. We have about 24 different research institutes that are affiliated with the Keck School of Medicine. those are some of the names there. Zilka Neurogenic Institute, the Broad Center for Regenerative Medicine is a big one. Children's Hospital, the Savan Research Institute, and a number of others that are affiliated with our campus. And the only reason I really mention that is that students that are interested in research can make that as big a part of their medical education as they would like. So there's plenty of resources in that regard. The Keck School of Medicine, as an educational educational institution, has 2 undergraduate degree programs, 22 different master's programs, all in the sciences, and 10 different PhD programs. So they have a 3-pronged approach to providing resources for the community, healthcare, research, and education. So it's a pretty big concern. I should have mentioned also that we're about 10 minutes east of downtown Los Angeles on our own health sciences campus, and the main University Park campus is about 10 minutes south of downtown Los Angeles. So we're on a standalone satellite campus. So these are the programs that I represent: the Doctor of Medicine program. We have an MD PhD program that's carried out in conjunction with California Institute of Technology. They're about a half an hour away from us. We offer MPH and MBA dual degree programs to our third-year Keck students. I just put that there so that you would know that. MPH program is very, very popular. We get about 15, almost 20 people each year deciding to take a leave of absence and complete that 1 year of instruction, and then graduate after 5 years with both degrees. And the MBA program, similar. It takes a year and about a couple of months. So it kind of, the time length is a little odd, but 2 great programs that are available to our current students. So organizationally, we provide a full service wellness program that's dedicated to the MD students at our school. This program, the foundations of it were laid about 10 years ago, and right around the time just before the pandemic struck, it had become a full service unit that was a big part of the curriculum as well. So wellness is a big priority for our physicians, our faculty, and staff. And we have 2 licensed psychologists that lead the wellness services. They have free drop-in wellness checkups for our students, mindfulness classes. They have speakers come in and talk about different components of physician resiliency and a lot of other topics as well. They have a really big portfolio of services that they provide. And at the end, I'm going to put a Linktree link in the chat so that you can visit their website and see exactly what they offer there. We also have a learning and academic support unit that is really great. They have one-on-one academic counseling. They lead a peer-led tutoring program. They train our third-year students and our second-year students to tutor our first and second-year students, respectively. They train them and pay them to do that. They lead different workshops. They have every resource known to medical students available for our students there. So I think one of the big misconceptions of a school like Keck is like you're brought in and then you're just kind of left to your own devices to get through the program, but that could be no further from the truth. They provide every resource they have to make sure that you thrive academically and in every other way in this program. Our organ system exams are pass, no pass. So we have a very collaborative student body. Our organ system blocks of instruction are about 4 to 6 weeks long. So your first year and a half of the didactic portion of the curriculum are spent cycling through the various organ systems. We have a health, justice, and systems of care component to the four-year curriculum. They equip our students with skills to identify disparities in healthcare, the delivery of healthcare, to initiate change in institutional change in healthcare organizations, and to advocate for patients. So it's a great part of our curriculum that we just formalized about 3 years ago. Our Office of Diversity and Inclusion is a hub of activity for our entire campus. They have different events that kind of bring together faculty, staff, and students. They have speakers come and talk about various topics. They are connected to our affinity student interest groups, like Med, Lambda, LMSA, SNMA, and those student interest groups have a direct link with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and they co-sponsor a lot of different student activities through those groups. And we have over 80 different student interest groups. So everything imaginable is represented in those groups. We have leisure clubs, we have literature clubs, every medical subspecialty has a representation in a student interest group. They set their own like community engagement agendas. They do health education. Some of them teach students, expose students to the students in the K through 12 system to the sciences, all manner of things. We encourage people to that if they don't see their interests represented in one of the established groups, we encourage them to create their own group. We give them funding and the means to do so. So it's a great opportunity for leadership and just kind of like self-regulated community engagement. That's at the very most fundamental level of community engagement here at Keck. Look at our residency match rate. The last match was in March, and we had a 97.7% match rate. 78% of the folks that matched will stay in California, which is really astounding when you think of how competitive it is to get a residency here in California. And I've got a list here of some of the more popular matches, residency matches. Internal medicine is at the top pretty much year after year. Psychiatry has been growing year after year. Pediatrics, emergency medicine used to be almost at the top of the list. That's kind of going, kind of slipping in the standings there. But these are some of the fields that our graduates go into once they graduate. This is a snapshot of our last incoming class. We just finalized the class of 2028, and I haven't been able to put the numbers together just yet because we're trying to open up the application cycle for the next application cycle. So we're kind of in the middle of straddling two cycles right now. But our class size will be 120 going forward. This current class of 2028 is going to be 120. And so will the next class. Average age 23 years old. Those the gender ratio is typically about the same year after year. Most of our undergraduate majors come from the sciences, but we do get an increasing number of liberal arts majors coming into the program each year. Our median MCAT and GPA are about the same, in that range each year. The range for the MCAT scores in that class was 505 to 525, and the GPA range was 3.0 to 4.0. So like I said, we're just beginning to open up the application cycle. We plan to send out secondary applications, invitations to complete the secondary application next week. We'll start interviewing at the end of August, and we will interview all the way through February of next year. We're on rolling admissions, so we'll start accepting people into the program on October 15th. And we'll continue to do so until the cycle closes Actually, we just, the last acceptances went out about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So it's a very long process. Everyone who submits an application gets a holistic review by a human being. We don't screen out people based on their MCAT score or GPA. So everyone, even if you apply on our deadline date of December 1st, that application will be reviewed and you stand a chance of being invited to interview for us.
So,
Yeah.
So you basically concur that the early bird, have a better shot, right?
Definitely. Yeah. The earlier you submit your application, the more spots there are available that our selection committee will send out interview invitations for. So as we get later in the cycle, that number of available interview slots shrinks. So yeah, the earlier the better, but also, don't apply until your application is, exactly the way you want it. So make sure that you don't cut any corners in that regard. Let's see. Yeah, and the valid MCAT dates for this cycle coming up is January 2022 through September 30th of this year. So application eligibility, we probably have one of the most liberal application practices of all the medical schools. We don't require any specific coursework for application eligibility. We did away with that over 12 years ago, just to give students the freedom to demonstrate their foundation in the sciences in the way that best suits their circumstances. Because we know that, a lot of other schools are going to require certain science courses from you, and we can use those to gauge your readiness for our curriculum. So that's, hopefully that makes it a little bit easier for the applicant when they apply to our school. So we do require the MCAT, and we require letters of recommendation. But the letters of recommendation, if you choose the individual letter route, they can be from anyone of your choosing. Anyone who can give you a full-throated endorsement will suffice. They don't have to be a professor. They don't have to be a researcher. But typically, though, the way it shakes out is people will have two science professors and one type of personal endorsement letter if they choose the individual letter option. Committee letters are preferred only because they're usually the committee that writes the letter or letters that are contained in the letter packet. They usually have a set of standards that they hold their applicants to, and in the applicants, you get more of an objective kind of sense of the applicant's preparedness in the sciences with the committee letter. But either way, I mean, you wouldn't be dinged or anything for submitting individual letters. But letter packets tend to, they give us better, more objective information sometimes. Another thing about that slide I wanted to share with you. We recommend Spanish and statistics, but we don't evaluate for that in the application. We simply put that there because Los Angeles General, our main training hospital, is 75% Spanish speaking patient population. So, if you come in with any Spanish speaking skills, if you can introduce yourself in Spanish, you would be a blessing to somebody, on the ward. So we just encourage people to try to gain some Spanish speaking proficiency before they come into the program. Our application process, pretty straightforward. We have traditional interviews. All applicants that are accepted in the program, they have to be interviewed by one student and one faculty, all virtual. We use Zoom, the Zoom application to do the interviews. Both interviews happen in one day, mostly like back to back, 1 hour for the student or faculty, and then 1 hour for the second interview. Sometimes you might have an interview in the morning and one a little bit later in the afternoon, but that's rare. So basically, you'd be invited to interview. You would be interviewed by a student and a faculty member. They would complete an evaluation of you in the process, and they would submit that to the admissions committee. The admissions committee, we have 6 different subcommittees. Each subcommittee has 3 faculty and 1 student. So there's students involved in every part of this application process. And then they decide whether or not you would be admitted or waitlisted or not admitted. And the entire process from interview to decision can be as soon as 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes it can take longer, like, as they interview more applicants, they come back to applicants and circle through the interviewed applicants and kind of select people, on the rolling basis that I mentioned before. Our interviews are blind interviews. The interviews know nothing about you, so it's a purely get to know you type of interview. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking they have to come and sell themselves, and it's all about the bullet points of your accomplishments. But it's not like that at all. We really just want our interviewers to have a basic conversation with you, get to know you, and just to judge whether or not you'd be a good fit for our program. They don't have any gotcha questions. They don't try to trip you up, or we want you at your best on interview day. We try to make you as comfortable as possible. Every applicant meets the dean before their interview in a group. Whoever's interviewing that day will meet in a Zoom group with the dean, and she will talk for about 45 minutes, give you pointers on what not to do, what to do, and kind of what we're looking for, just to put you at ease. And we really are rooting for your success when you are invited to interview. We're not really testing the water. We think this person's a good fit for our program. We want them in the program. We just need to meet them, let them meet our faculty and student, and so that we can both kind of decide whether this is a good fit. So I encourage you, like, when you get invited to interview with other schools, go with that confidence. They're not joking around. Like, they're really seriously considering you, and just go there with that confidence. These are the people, always the number one question. What does the perfect applicant look like? Well, they look like they've given themselves enough time, enough experiences to develop these competencies. Service orientation being number one for our school. We serve an underserved population for the most part in our hospitals, and we want people that want to come and be a part of serving in that environment. So these competencies, they can be found on the AAMC website. If you go there and search on core competencies, you'll see full descriptions of each one of these. But applicants that stand out are the ones who can talk about, their experiences in a way that demonstrates that they've given themselves opportunities to develop these competencies. The thought is, like, we can't really teach everybody these competencies in a 4-year period while they're going to medical school. So you have to bring these with you. So they're very, very important. Don't treat them lightly when you look at them on the AAMC website. I think a lot of people say, yeah, of course, yeah, service orientation, and but no, the way you talk about these experiences is really important. They're really a way for you to showcase your maturity. Reviewers want to know, has this person given themselves enough opportunities to even foreclose on a career in medicine, or are they're just testing the water? Do they really have an understanding of the challenges, involved with going to med school, becoming a physician? This is like another major where you just go for 4 years and, regurgitate, stuff you hear and, write essays. It's not like that. It's a really big commitment, and they want to make sure that you understand what the commitment is, and that you're prepared to be successful in undertaking the commitment. So very, very important. These are just 3 things that every student we accept they have a strong intrinsic motivation. They're not like just doing this to satisfy their parents. You know, they have a strong drive to be of significance in their lives, you know, in their professions. They want to carve out a life for themselves in the health professions. They're not doing it because, you know, their sister's a lawyer and, you know, their father said they need a doctor in the family or anything like that, which I've read in you know, in personal statements, things like, you know, similar to that. You know, that's not what we're looking for. They have meaningful extracurriculars, like the way you talk about your extracurriculars, your community of interest is very important. They want to see that you do have a community of interest. Hopefully, you know, and preparing for medical school, that's really what you're doing, is you're trying to give yourself experiences. Because at this point, you know, you may not have even foreclosed on becoming a doctor. You know, you should be surveying the health professions to make sure that you find the profession in the healthcare professions that's a good fit for you. You know, don't just want to become a doctor because that's the top of the food chain or anything. You know, you want to do it because it's right for you. You want to put yourself in situations with other healthcare professionals, if you can, other patient care settings, so that you can see what the field is about and make sure that that's something that you feel like you can commit to. The number one thing, though, that I see in our students, they have a personal sense of mission. You know, they have some experience or something that has really inspired them to want to be in the health care professions, and that's what they're chasing. You know, their applications look like, when they write about their extracurriculars, their personal statements, it looks like they would be doing those extracurriculars even if they weren't going to medical school. They're not just checking boxes. You know, every medical student has to check certain boxes. You do a little research, you have some clinical experiences, you have extracurriculars, community service experiences, and it's fairly easy just to check those boxes. But the challenge is to actually use those experiences as a tool for your own personal growth, so that when you write about yourself, you know, you are writing from experience and from like a well of self-knowledge. And that's what's going to make you stand out as an applicant, because everybody's checking the same box, but not everybody's talking about it in a way that's compelling and demonstrates that they're ready for medical school experience. So if you want to scan that, I'll put the link to this in the chat in just a moment. But it has a Linktree link, and there's a number of different links to various aspects of our curriculum, our catalog, which has a great description of the 4-year medical school program, Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which I forgot to mention, they have a summer bridge, a couple of summer research programs that are open to people outside of USC. Go to their website, they have full details there. And a number of other different ancillary components to the Keck School of Medicine that you might find interesting. There's a link to the Office of Community Engagement, which is our more formal arm of providing services to the surrounding community. They have, you know, formal ties with nonprofits in the greater Los Angeles area. That students can kind of sample, you know, different places to kind of find a good fit for themselves as far as community engagement goes. But just various other things that you might find interesting there. And I'll put the link into that in the chat. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Alrighty, so for our first question, someone says that online it says that transfer students are not accepted to Keck. Is this referring to transfers between medical schools or those from community colleges?
That's transferees from medical school. Some people will do their first 2 years at one medical school, and then for whatever reason want to finish at Keck or another medical school. So they'll try to transfer in their third year to a different medical school, but we don't do that. So yeah, that's what that's intended for.
And this is a follow-up question I have. We've also asked Dr. Arya, and we've asked you every single time you come over. Do you accept community college students that have gone to community college, either pre-bac, post-bac, and if they've taken their prereqs at a community college?
We do. We do. I don't have the exact number, but we have quite a number of students that we accept that started out in the community college program. So yeah, that coursework is just as valued as any other coursework. So definitely.
Alrighty, for our next question, how much of an emphasis do you guys place on research when admitting medical students?
We reviewers like to see that you at least have some research, but they recognize that most people that come to our program at least want to go into patient care, and that's the big emphasis. But they expect you to have a little bit of research to be familiar with it, just enough to be familiar with it. And it depends on the person. I did a survey of an incoming class a few years ago, and we had people that had like 20 hours of research. We had people that had thousands of hours of research that had been accepted. So it just depends on what your interest is.
Our next question is, any advice for those first gens applying with a lower GPA and or MCAT?
Yeah, I would say you definitely want to, first off, you should need to work with your pre-health advisor at your current school just to get an objective kind of assessment of where you stand in relation to successful applicants to medical schools. And follow the advice that they give you. One thing I would say is because it's kind of hard to say because everybody's different. Like I said, like our lowest MCAT in the last class was 505. Now that person, our reviewer must have looked at that person and looked at their coursework and probably saw an upward trend in their grades and things, and looked at that and said, well, with our academic support, this person can get through our MD program, and so that's kind of how they look at that. They don't just look at somebody like 4.0 and 518 MCAT and say, oh, they're a lock for our program. But they look at your journey. They look at what you've gone through, how you talk about your experience, and everything becomes very important, especially when you have a lower GPA. So you need to, if you do have a lower kind of metric situation, you definitely, your rhetorical approach needs to be on point because you need to be speaking the language of the reviewers, as far as the competencies in your development, because they need to feel confident that you're mature enough to get through our program, that even if you did have a lower grades maybe in the beginning of your academic career, that there's an upward trend. They just need to feel comfortable that you're going to be able to get through the program, because it's a tragedy for us if someone can't make it through the program. So yeah, and also the AAMC provides these data tables, and you can see like which universities or which medical schools around the country accepted people in your MCAT and GPA range, just to kind of get a feel for schools where you're going to be competitive. You shouldn't be locked into any one school. A lot of people say, well, Keck is my favorite school, and and which is great, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you ought to be applying to places where you're going to be competitive. You don't want to just be slinging applications, just throwing up on a wind and a prayer. You want to make sure you're competitive at wherever you apply. Out of state schools love California applicants, and they are way more tolerant than many other California schools as far as the metrics. So you might want to try to apply to like out of state schools that you see they accept, say, a good percentage would be they accept like 20%, 15-20% of out-of-state students, and and you're competitive with that metric range, because the main thing is that you just get the medical school degree. You can always apply for residency at Keck or your favorite medical school, and come back that way. But the main, the objective is it's not, prestige is part of it, but the goal is to get a degree. So don't lose sight of that. I'm very long-winded, so.
Alrighty, for our next question, this is regarding dual degrees. Do you have to, when you're applying, do you have to decide to do a dual degree before you apply, or once you're in the MD program, can you then add on a master's of public health, a master's of business administration?
Yeah, you don't have to apply to the dual degree at the outset. Yeah, you apply to that in your third year of medical school. I just show that just to so people know that we do have a dual degree component to our curriculum, or to our program. But yeah, you have to be a third year medical student at our school in academic good standing, and you would take a leave of absence and complete a year in one of those programs. And a lot of times people will take a year off and do a MPH or MBA or some, public policy or something at a different school too. You can apply to different other programs if you would like. The one great thing about our school, we do have some funding, or we typically have some funding for MPH students. It's kind of like our primary care type of program, So a lot of the students that go through that program will have tuition funded by the school. So it's not guaranteed, but that's the way it plays out pretty much year after year.
Once you get into medical school, the world is your oyster.
Definitely. Medical students are the creme de la creme of a university, so you have access to resources. I didn't talk about scholarships, but we typically give about 40, I think with this class size of 120, we have about 36 people who have 1 or 2 year tuition scholarships. Once they matriculate in August, they'll have the ability to apply for other scholarships through our donor network. But yeah, I mean, access, like if you want to shadow any physician or researcher in any specialty, they love medical students. If you're interested in something and you just want to test the water, or talk to someone, a leader in that field that's affiliated with Keck, our student affairs will set you up with them, or you can just email. A lot of our students, they tell me they just cold call people, and you say you're a Keck student, and it's like, yeah, come on down, I'll show you around, and like that. So kind of what you pay for when you come to Keck or any other large medical school.
Our next question is, with a large class size, how are lectures conducted to make sure no student is left behind?
Yeah, for the most part, not all of the lectures are mandatory. They're typically held. We have a number of different auditoriums where the lectures are held, but all of the lectures are broadcast online. All of the lectures and the lecture material, notes and everything, are housed online as well. So it gives students a lot of flexibility as far as when they come to campus, and how long they spend at campus, how to organize their study time and things like that. But we have a couple of really big lecture halls that people that our first and second year students use for lectures, especially the mandatory lectures. And then we have a building that houses our what we call learning communities, where we have rooms that are built to house 24 students per room, and they're broken up into the incoming classes broken up into cohorts of 20 to 24 students, and each cohort has 2 physician faculty assigned to them, and so they'll be going through the organ systems, lectures, and they'll be in their learning communities going over the curricular material, as they cycle through the organ systems. And those learning communities are open 24/7. They're security coded, so you have to have a badge to get into the building at after hours and into the rooms. So there's all types of resources and help in like managing time and when and where you do attend lectures.
Alrighty, for our next question, do you know how many applications are received annually?
Typically, about 8,500 applications each year. Yeah, it's a lot of folks. We typically interview with the 186. When we were at 186, we typically interviewed about 600 people, and we would accept almost 400 people to get to that number of 186. This year, I think we interviewed about close to 500 people, and we accepted like 350 people to get to this number of 120. So yeah, so it's a pretty competitive process. That's why I say, you have to be strategic in how you apply, to different schools, because most applicants put in 10, 15, 20 applications in the cycle. You want to make sure that you'll have your stretch schools, but you want the bulk of your applications going to schools where you stand a really good chance of getting in, mission fit as well as metrics.
And 100% of people that don't apply don't get in, right?
Right.
Is that a true statistic?
They get left in the dust every year. Yeah.
The next question is, if I submit more than 3 letters, how does the admissions committee choose from my letters?
The reviewer will just take probably the first 3 letters and use those to include in the evaluation. Your application won't be dinged or anything like that. But yeah, they'll just arbitrarily take 3 of the letters. We get so many applicants that, especially we get a lot of applicants that send more than 3 individual letters each year. People are already emailing, and we haven't even sent out the secondaries. People are saying, accidentally, I guess they didn't go to our website before they or look at the MSAR before they submitted the letters or something. But yeah, your application will still be evaluated and everything, but they'll just arbitrarily pick 3 of the letters.
Alrighty, for our next question, does the committee give feedback if you do not get accepted? And also, how are reapplicants viewed?
Unfortunately, because of the size of our applicant pool, we can't give individual feedback on the decisions. Reapplicants, it's kind of hard to say. We have accepted reapplicants here and there, but reapplicants, it's tough because like right now, like I'm sure there are people who are on our wait list, who maybe didn't get into another school, who are already applying to this new cycle, and their application is going to be just the same, and people who didn't get an interview, they're reapplying with the exact same application. So, that makes it kind of tough. And the thing is, when a school has that many applications, there's probably 4,000 people out of that applicant pool that are great applicants. We just can't interview them all. So yeah, so it's a tough thing for reapplicants. If you're a reapplicant, if you got an interview, at least that my application must have been up to snuff. If that they invited me to interview, maybe something didn't go quite as well as planned for the actual interview itself. If you didn't get an interview, then you have to wonder. Unfortunately, it's just kind of you have to just kind of look at your application materials, maybe talk to a pre-med advisor, have somebody look at your application materials and just see where you might need to improve, if at all. You might not need to improve. Maybe you might just want to reword different things, try a different, highlight different aspects of like your motivation, or think about your values, and this and think about like fine tuning your message. But I wouldn't just arbitrarily, just because I didn't get accepted, just change everything. So yeah, that's a tough one, and you definitely need to work with a pre-health advisor when you're reapplying.
Next question is, are there any connections/pathway programs for the MD program from other Keck School of Medicine master's programs?
There isn't, but we do accept people that, like one of our master's programs, Global Health, is a very popular program. And I notice a lot of people, not a lot, but we get people accepted into our MD program that have completed a master's in global health program. I think they do a really great job of preparing the students that go through that program. And another part of that is, if you do go to a USC program, especially a Keck School of Medicine master's program, or one of the two bachelor's programs that Keck offers, you will likely have some contact with faculty. So you might just kind of get to know faculty, and they can kind of help you. And other medical students. You might meet other medical students who are doing like dual degrees or something like that, or just being on campus, you might get to meet other medical students. And I think there's that their input can be very, very valuable, and knowing faculty, they can kind of just help you through the process, to kind of give you things to think about and preparing, write letters of rec for you and things like that. So I think there's value in that, but there's no direct pipeline per se.
Alrighty, for our next question. So someone said that they migrated countries in the middle of their undergraduate degree. I will be a junior in the fall and will be applying to med school next year. Will it be a red flag if my extracurriculars were all started within a year before I apply?
No, not necessarily. It's more about, like I mentioned, it's more about the way you talk about those extracurriculars, what type of impact it's had on you, as a person, how it has helped you prepare for medical school and beyond. Those are really more important than the number of hours per se, or the title of the activity.
Next question is, do students pay for the PeerLed programs as part of the class unit, or is it covered?
Oh, that's totally free. Yeah. Wellness, all of that it's all free. Yeah. Not free, but it's part of the overall cost of, of the program cost. There's no extra fee for that. You do have to pay some equipment fees though, like, buying your stethoscope and other instruments and things like that. But there's help for that. So yeah.
And the other one is, Keck does not require the Casper or the preview exam. However, are those scores visible if the student decided to take those exams?
I think the preview score is visible, but we don't even look at that. Yeah, we don't even, yeah, I think that's why I can't even recall, because I do a lot of admin work in the admissions, and I think I've seen it. I know I've seen the preview, seen the name and the file, but yeah, our reviewers don't look at that at all.
So the next question is, how does Keck admissions view or consider gap years?
Gap years, I think they can be very, personally, I think some of our best applicants are people that took gap years. I mentioned our class size was 186 in our previous years. Each year, there's at least 80 people or more who have taken 2 or more gap years. And they just make great applicants. They've got a lot more experience under their belt. They really have they know themselves really well. They're easy to talk to. They kind of, they're not intimidated by the old folks in the admissions process or anything, yeah, I think they've given themselves a lot more opportunities to kind of really get clear on what they want to do with their lives, and I think they make better applicants. I think gap years are great for people that that kind of just need some time. So, and I've talked to some of our students who have taken gap years, and I've seen all reasons. Some people say I just need to take some time off because, that 4 years, 5 years of undergraduate work was just, taking a toll. I just needed to kind of regroup before I went to medical school, or I didn't know I wanted to be a physician when I was in my undergraduate program. So I had to do a post-bac or go to community college and take some science classes to kind of, get my science foundation together, or, I went on vacation, or another popular one is, I needed to save some money. I wanted to work, save a little bit of money, so I can have a little money for when I got accepted into medical school. And also, another one is people, want to do some type of educational enrichment program that they know they won't be able to complete once they start medical school. You have something that you've always wanted to delve into academically, a gap year, couple of gap years, that's a good time to do that. So, yeah.
Thank you. So the next question is, what is the international student population like? Which countries are your international students, and how welcoming is USC to the student population?
Yeah, we have a really diverse student body. I think there's, in our last incoming class, there are about 20 different countries, close to 20 different countries represented among the student body, but we only have one international, purely international student though. The vast majority of people that apply to our program are California residents that are permanent residents or U.S. citizens. So, the numbers kind of shake out that, most of our accepted students are part of that population. But every year we get, typically one or two maybe international students that get into the program. Yeah.
The next question is, between shadowing, volunteering, research, and internships, which one of these would you say are the ones that help you stand out the most?
Well, I think the ones that kind of, I wouldn't say stand out, but the ones that kind of give reviewers the confidence that you've done your due diligence in career selection and preparation are situations where you're interacting with patients, or in a situation where you're involved in some way, any kind of way, even peripherally, with healthcare professionals and patients, because that's giving you a really, bird's eye view of the profession. When you do, volunteer work in those settings, you typically talk to other professionals there. So you've had your questions answered, and you can really say like, yeah, I think this is for me, and I want to try it. So those I think kind of do that for the reviewer mostly. But they're all valuable. And like I keep saying, it's the way that you talk about the benefits of those different activities to your overall growth and development and your preparedness. That's what really counts the most. I'll just say this too, I think people get, get really hung up on the metrics, but medical school reviewers really want to know you as a person. So that's why I said, like, just checking the boxes, you just look like everybody else. The way, they want to, look at it as like you're about to embark on a relationship with somebody, and you want them to know about you, and you want to know about them. That's the kind of the mindset, I think, that will put you in the right frame of mind to craft an application, personal statement, and the way you write about your experiences in an interview, the way you talk about yourself, your goals and values. That's what makes them real, because you're forthcoming. You're not trying to hold back and only trying to give, create, impression management. We don't want impression managers. We just want people who are forthcoming about who they are and can articulate, their sense of values and interests really well.
Alrighty, for the next question. So if someone went to a community college for 2 years and then transferred to finish their degree at a 4-year, how should one calculate their GPA, especially if most of these science courses were at a community college?
Yeah, that happens on the AMCAS application side. You submit all of your coursework in the primary application to AMCAS, and then the way it's presented to the schools is they'll see a table, and it'll show each program in each year of each program, and it'll show like each course's each grade point for each course, a cumulative grade point for each program, and a total cumulative grade point average for all of the programs you've taken. So, the reviewers, like I said, they're going to be looking at that just to gauge whether or not you can get through our MD curriculum. You're not going to get a blue ribbon for 4.0 or anything. Can this person get through the MD the stuff, the didactic stuff? Yes, that's probably takes 2 minutes, because they can just look at your coursework and see like, okay, they've taken this, that, and that. Yeah, okay, yeah, they can handle, with our lectures and the stuff that we give them, they can handle that. So yeah, lost my train of thought, but the most important thing is that that you just demonstrate your ability to get through an MD curriculum. You don't have to, they're not looking for perfection. That's what I'm trying to say.
Alrighty, so for the next question, someone asked, if you have a very high GPA, are you forgiving for a lower MCAT score? And also the vice versa, if you have a higher MCAT score, are you more forgiving of a lower GPA?
Yeah, they can, good academics can kind of offset, a lower MCAT. A high MCAT can kind of offset academic imperfections. But we evaluate that. I know you guys hear this all the time, holistically. So they're going to look at your entire body of work, your experiences, like I said, the way you talk about your experiences, and factor all of that in. They have this concept that reviewers kind of look at, and it's called the distance traveled. Like, what has your body of work looked like? Where have you come from, academically to where you are now, and how has that prepared you? That's really what they're looking at. So it's, like I said, the metrics part is just a quick, it's very easy to see if a person is academically sound enough to get through the medical school program. That's only part, that's just a baseline measure of your ability to get through the program. That's not going to necessarily make or break your acceptance into the program.
One of the questions someone had is, what do you look for in the secondary applications you send out?
Our secondaries, I'm sure maybe some of you have seen it on Student Doctor Network. We have a very, it's a very, we think, fun secondary application. We ask questions like, if you had to give yourself a nickname, what would it be? What's the most fun you've had lately? What was another one? What are 3 things that you care absolutely nothing about? That's a good one. What's another one is, what have you not gotten that you really felt you deserved, stuff like that. And there's no like psychological basis for any of that. Our students give us questions each year, and we put them in there, but it gives people an opportunity to kind of, just show their personality, a little bit. So yeah, we just look for people to be forthcoming, show the right amount of discipline to, not overshare. We don't want to start hearing a bunch of crazy, about, share in a polite company kind of way. Don't get too heavy. Don't get mad because people can't give themselves nicknames, stuff like that. So that's what we look for, just this openness and the ability to have fun with it and be revealing about yourself at the same time, without trying to make without trying to posture within that. Like I'd give myself the nickname of Mr. Dependable because all of my friends say, that, we don't want to hear that. Just like, have some fun with it, Yeah.
Alrighty, for our next question, it's a bit again about GPA. So if someone has a lower overall GPA, but they demonstrate a significant upward trend, how is this viewed? Also, if you have a lower overall GPA, would you suggest taking a master's program or a post-bac program to improve it?
Yeah, I would suggest that you work with a pre-health advisor to kind of gauge, where your metrics fit in the overall scheme of medical schools around the country. Because we can't just say in isolation. I mean, that's why we have the application process, because we have to look at your entire application to say, how any one component is going to impact the overall evaluation. You can't just, that's not something you can just determine in the abstract like that. But, I would say like any concern, well, just anyway, if you're considering medical school, you need to be working with a pre-health advisor. This period, don't try to do it all on your own. You need that feedback because they're familiar. I only know Keck. I've only ever worked at Keck in higher education. I don't know anything really about any other medical school, but your pre-health advisor may even have contacts at multiple schools. They might have inside knowledge on certain components of their selection process and things like that, and what they look for, and what they absolutely won't tolerate, that kind of thing. So your pre-health advisor you should be using that service as best you can, as much as you can.
Actually, a follow-up for that is someone asked if there's any pre-health advisors at USC, either Keck or the undergraduate institution, that people not from USC can use.
Unfortunately, there is not. You have to be a USC, at least a USC undergrad, or in a USC program to utilize the pre-health advising services. We in the admissions office, we don't meet with or advise applicants just because we want to avoid any conflict of interest. But there's an association called the National Association of Advisors to the Health Professions, and I'll put their.
I put the link in there already.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I already put that link in there, and one of the things we're working on that is we're gonna have some advising starting in the fall. To have some pre-health advisors that are gonna volunteer through us.
Oh, that's great.
To meet with students, but there's the NAHP pre-health advisor. It's a database. The only rule is that if you go to a school and that has a pre-health advisor, you can't use their services. So it's for people that don't have access to it. So make sure you look at the database and see, and it's free and you could meet with them. It's just sometimes hard to get a hold of people, but that's available as well.
Thanks, Joby.
So next couple of questions to ask about if it's too late to or if you would suggest applying this cycle if they do not have their MCAT score ready, or if they do not have the grades yet for their one-year master's or post-bac program.
Yeah, that's another judgment call that you would want to talk to a pre-health advisor about. I would just say, like, yeah, once you apply, we don't accept updates in our program. Some programs do, like you'd be able to update them on any subsequent grades or anything that came in after you applied, but we don't do that. So yeah, you need to if you wanted those things included in the evaluation, you'd have to have them there before you applied. And the MCAT deadline for this upcoming cycle is September 30th. So you would have to take the MCAT before then to be considered.
Alrighty. So the next question is if we could look at the match rates for the specialties again, if
Sure.
possible.
Let's see.
We'll post a PowerPoint on our website so you can take a look at it. So
Okay, yeah. The overall match rate is 97.7. Basically, I think there was one person that didn't go into a residency program out of 174 people, and that person is going to do some educational program and then reapply next year. but every 173 people, they didn't match. Not all of them matched outright, but 97.7% of them matched outright. And then the other 4 or 5 people, they matched during that week, because we have a really proactive career advising office, and they've called different programs, and they got those people into programs before the end of that week. So it's virtually 100% match rate if you look at it like that. But yeah, Jobina will put that slide in the he'll make that available to you all.
Another common question I'm seeing is like, what are common mistakes that applicants make that you have seen, or what would you say would be a huge red flag of an applicant interested in applying at Keck?
Yeah, one of the biggest red flags that I see are people that appear to be just testing the water, like they're not really, they're not really sure, or they haven't given themselves, they're not talking about their experience in a way that gives the reviewer confidence that, this person, actually understands, what they're doing, like what they're getting themselves into. Yeah, I think maturity is a big thing. People that don't demonstrate the right level of maturity or understanding about the challenges that await them as a medical school student, or becoming a physician. That the lack of intrinsic motivation is another big red flag. Any talk about like wanting to become a doctor for other reasons that have nothing to do with your own personal sense of mission that's going to put up a red flag. People who are career shifting, coming from one career, like we get a lot of people, and it's great to have other experiences in the health professions, but different careers in different health professions are different than becoming a doctor. They're not, just because you're a nurse doesn't mean you're going to be a great doctor. Those are two different career paths. And I think people sometimes, and we do accept, I've seen people that were nurses be accepted into the program. But I think one thing that people that come from different other backgrounds, they underestimate the career undecidedness that they project, in switching. So that can be a red flag. People that kind of like have this glowing, rosy picture, they kind of over dramatize why they want to be a doctor. Like I said, intrinsic motivation is a great thing, but there's a such thing as overdoing it. Like, I just since I was 5, I wanted to help people, and I just have this overwhelming, that might be the case, and that's great, but you don't want to oversell that kind of thing to the point where it looks like you're exaggerating about your desire to become a doctor. Some people apply and they're just stuck on Keck, like they think that complimenting Keck is going to make them stand out. Like, I just love Keck, and I've always wanted to be a part of the USC family, and their commitment to this, and all these accolades about the Keck School of Medicine, and they forget to talk about who they are. That can be a flag as well. But I think I think just being genuine is the best way to go in that regard.
So someone asks, how many students from undergrad at USC normally make up a class? And also, do any of the summer programs at Keck provide participants with any sort of advantage if they end up applying to the Keck School of Medicine later on?
Yeah, we typically, we get most of our students, and you'll be happy to hear this, Matt, from UCLA. I don't know what they do to you guys over there, but they make great medical students. Actually, Dr. Arias is telling me that UCLA, they could fill every California spot every year with just UCLA undergrads. That's how many.
UCLA has the most applicants. I think they graduated something like almost 18,000 pre-meds a year or something. It's a lot. Like, if every school that you look at the data, like UCLA is the most applicants and the most admitted. So there's a thing called strength in numbers, but
Yeah, so each year we like when our class size is 186, we get about 35 UCLA students, and USC comes in second every year. We get about 30 USC students, and yeah, and different other schools are represented behind those in the top 10. If you go to our website, there's a top 10 list of schools that our last incoming class came from. And the other part of that question was if you have involvement in some USC program, does that help you get into the MD program? Not necessarily, but it can be helpful in different ways. Like I said before, like you might be able to network with professors and current medical students that can give you insight into like preparing yourself and preparing your application materials and this kind of like experientially what you need to pay attention to prepare yourself and things like that. But there's no direct pipeline or anything like that from any other program into the MD program.
All right, so someone asked, how is Keck School of Medicine different or unique from the other California medical schools?
Yeah, all medical schools pretty much offer similar educations. One couple ways that we stand out, I believe, is that for one thing, we have a really great early immersion doctor-patient relationship skills training program. So I mentioned we have the learning community cohorts where the student body is divided into cohorts of 24 students. That's one cohort level. Then we have the introduction to clinical medicine group, and they're divided into groups of 6 to 8 students, and they're assigned to physician faculty. And they start learning how to take histories, how to communicate in settings of illness. We have standardized patients come in, actors paid to act out different illnesses and things to help our students learn how to take histories. They start going around in the wards like week 2 or 3 of medical school. The ICM program is 2 years. It takes them to the clerkship phase. I think that's a really strong part of our program because you come in and they meet twice a week, by the way. Tuesday they'll go over history taking, and it parallels the organ system learning. So if they're in cardiovascular organ system, they're going to be learning about taking histories with patients with the cardio problems. Then they're going to go to the ward on Thursday and they're going to see patients with cardio problems. That's a strong part of our program. Another strong part that I really like, and it's just kind of been fully developed in the last 3 years, is we have a component, a phase of our curriculum called transformation and individuation. So in the final like year and a half of the program, you're assigned coaches. We have speakers and different professionals come around and come and talk to our 3rd, 4th year students. You'll have coaching like once a month while you're going through your clerkships and things like that to just kind of help you kind of envision the type of professional you want to be and help you, take steps to make sure you're heading into that, into the type of person you want to be. I think one of the complaints, not necessarily a complaint, but one of the things that it was determined that was lacking in a lot of medical students, that they would graduate, go to residency, and they get to residency and they still feel like, man, I still don't feel like, I'm a doctor. Like I'm around all these other people that have been doctors for 20 years and I feel like I'm still like the newbie, And so this program is designed to kind of help get them through that so that when they do go to residency, they can be confident in being a full functioning member of any medical team that they're on. So I think that's a really great part of the program. We also have I mentioned before, the health justice and systems of care longitudinal component to the program. And I think that's something that's kind of always been there, but not in such a formal way. But now it's a formal part of the curriculum. Students are equipped with the skills to be change makers in the institutions that they go to, learn how to recognize and address healthcare disparities, learn how to intercede with upper management, to really understand how systems of care work and how to change them, and I think that's pretty powerful. So those are three things. But another like unnotated or documented part of our program that's I think is great is the collaboration between students, faculty, and staff. We have a really collaborative environment. It's really low key. Faculty and students have great relations with one another, and I think it's just a great environment for people to learn in, and I think that goes a long way. Yeah.
All right, so we have a question here about the interview. So after being accepted for an interview, are the decisions based solely on the interview, or is it added to the holistic process?
It's added to the holistic process. Yeah, like I said, our first initial reviewers, they choose who will be selected for interview. The applicants are then interviewed, and the interviewers will complete the interview evaluation. And then when it goes to the AdCom committee, subcommittee, which will be 3 faculty members and 1 student, they will see all of the applicants' information plus the interview evaluations, and then they'll make the final decision. So yeah, they see your whole body of work. They are really scrutinizing the way you talk about yourself, the competence development of those competencies, and even the interviewers, they're kind of they're looking at the applicant through the lens of the competencies. So the way they write their evaluations are competency based as well. So, but at the AdCom level, yeah, they're looking at your entire body of work plus the interviews. So they're really digging into the nitty gritty.
Alrighty, so I see some questions about scholarships and tuition. So what do the tuition and scholarship awards look like, and how does one get awarded these scholarships?
Yeah, the incoming class, the admissions committee initially awards, like I said, about 35 to 40 incoming students, 1- and 2-year scholarships that they'll get, and that those tuition scholarships will be spread out over the 4 years of medical school. So they try to offset some of the costs associated with medical school. Once students matriculate, we have a really big donor network. One of the resources that our financial aid department uses is the Norman Topping Fund. You can go to the USC website and look at their page and see kind of what they're about. But they're made up of a bunch of donors that offer various scholarships of varying amounts with different stipulations. And those are available throughout the 4 years of medical school. So most of the people that are accepted into the program that do get funding through that fund or any other sources that the financial aid office might come up with, throughout the semesters. So those are basically the outside funding or the scholarship funding sources. But I would say you definitely want to make scholarship funding, like your knowledge of institutions that provide funding. You want to make that part of your preparation, so that when you do get accepted to medical school, you'll have other places that you can tap on your own for funding. If you go to medical schools websites and look at their financial aid office, many of them will mention like they'll have their own donor network, and you can see the institutions that comprise that network. And many of those institutions that they'll have, they're run by foundations that give money to people that aren't affiliated with that particular school. These are just standalone, like the Keck Foundation. They have other, they give out money for other things other than just the medical school student at USC. So you want to identify those sources so that when you do get accepted, you can tap into those types of resources. I think that a reasonable goal is to offset the tuition. You might be lucky enough to get into a Johns Hopkins who just I think they just did a tuition remission thing for their entire student body, or NYU last year they made tuition free. If you're lucky enough to get into a situation like that, great. But I think it's safe to assume that if you really are diligent, you can find ways to offset some of the cost of the tuition.
Alrighty, so here's a couple of questions about extracurriculars. What are some examples of unique extracurriculars? Do you consider shadowing to be clinical experience? And do you look for a specific number of hours or a minimum number of hours for clinical experience?
Yeah, we don't necessarily look for. I think on the MSAR we say something like 50 hours or something, but we don't rate that necessarily. Shadowing is good, but like I said, the best experiences are the ones that are the most impactful. Probably are those that have you in a clinical care setting where you can see and interact with healthcare professionals and patients. Those are those types of activities are going to tell the reviewer that, yeah, you've given yourself enough opportunities to really be able to see what goes on in the healthcare setting, and you make an informed decision. Shadowing, but a lot of people have shadowing and only shadowing, and some community engagement stuff. But yeah, it just depends on how you tie it in with your body of work as well. The way you talk about, your overall narrative that you create in your application materials with your personal statement, and the way you talk about your experiences are going to kind of dictate what the reviewer looks at. The way you highlight these things. So it's really up to you kind of how we look at those things.
Right. What's unique to you is totally different. It's kind of like saying, I don't know, go work at something that you don't enjoy doing, or not. Like, for example, like go work at a Vietnamese health clinic. If you don't speak Vietnamese, you're really not going to be doing a service, or you're not going to be an asset, and you're probably not going to be. But if you're interested about certain things that you enjoy doing, then follow those instead of looking for what somebody else would think. Because worst thing you could do in life is doing something you don't enjoy. And and it goes also the same process of taking your pre-med classes. If you don't enjoy doing that, just knowing that you're going to be spending a lot of time studying and taking tests. And so um, the reason the process is this way is because, a lot of people want a lot of things. Like, I want to run in the Olympics, but I don't think I could, I could even get off the blocks. So, I mean, it's just being able to do the things that you enjoy.
Definitely. And there's enough things that you enjoy that will allow you an opportunity to demonstrate, that you have those competencies, where you shouldn't just be just doing just anything. You should be finding things that are of interest to you and that you get something out of, and that's what we want to hear about.
Yeah, and if everybody in the medical school did the same exact thing, that would be a really boring class. But also, there's not a diversity in specialty. So you have somebody who wants to be a pediatric neurosurgeon, which is very precise in what they do, and versus somebody else who wants to work at a free clinic, or somebody who wants to be a dermatologist. Those are a very different set of skills. If you're somebody who doesn't like uncertainty, probably should not go into emergency medicine, or if someone, so there's if you don't like anything that's slow paced, don't go work in the clinic, so it's that's why everybody's very different, because how you practice medicine is very different on your personality.
Definitely. And when you prepare, these are things this is the work you're doing, you're not just checking the box. You are working on yourself and trying to figure these things out for yourself. So it's not just some blind arbitrary thing where you just try and check some box in an application.
So very similar to that, we have how does Keck assist students when choosing a specialty that's best for them?
Oh, yeah, we have a career advising office. Yeah, and they are geared towards helping people figure out which specialty they want to go into and preparing them to go into that specialty, you know. Um, Pardon me, someone just came in. Yeah, so yeah, if you go to our website, in the link to our Keck School of Medicine website is on that link tree that I provided. Go there and look at our student affairs office. They have a career advising section there, and they talk about some of the tools and resources they have for applicants. But yeah, their whole thing is geared towards helping you figure out which specialty that you want to eventually go into, and giving you resources to help you choose. And like I said, like the school, like a Keck School of Medicine, like a Stanford or UC San Diego, any of those schools that have this big three-pronged approach to providing like healthcare education and research, they're going to have those resources. You can you can shadow people. Like you can, first year medical students coming in August, they can call anybody, in our network and ask to shadow them, and they're gonna get a response, and
And I
do
know, and I
yeah.
know USC has that too. Just like as undergrad, you have club days. I think the first couple of weeks of medical school, every specialty, because they're invested in recruiting their residents and their future colleagues, so they
Yeah.
come looking for you. So if you're minutely interested in something, there are people who are going to try to recruit you to do research, to get to know you. It's very different than pre-med. Once you've been accepted, um, what is it? The world is your oyster. They come looking for you. So
You are no longer a shunned pariah.
no, not so much that, but it's just that you've gone through the process, and you're in 3 years' time, you're gonna have to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. So there is um they have an interest um in having you there. So yeah.
Definitely.
And I could tell you this from a lot of medical students that I know, you're going to change your specialty probably 75 times from the first day of medical school until you submit your residency. So
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next question is, what's the age of the oldest student you've accepted?
That I recall, this person was in their late 30s. And this is an interesting case. He is a career shifter. This person, he had been had been a stage director on Broadway in New York City. That was his career up to then. And he, for some reason, I don't know his exact reason, but he decided that he wanted to become a doctor, and he went through our program, and he graduated about 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, he was probably, I think he was like 38, something like that, 39. The youngest we've accepted was like 19. We had this one young lady, she had got accepted, I think she was 18 or 19, or maybe even younger than that. I can't remember. And I think she went into OB-GYN or something like that. Yeah, she was like a genius kid. That was a long while ago.
So this question is there a way to tour the campus or set up a tour with the School of Medicine?
Unfortunately, we can't provide tours. Yeah, but if you keep track of like the affinity groups, like I mentioned, LMSA or SNMA, and those different pre-med club groups, we have chapters of those groups on our campus with our med students, and they have events sometimes where they invite people to come on campus for mentor days and things like that. So keep track of them through that, and sometimes they'll have events. We can't offer tours though.
All right, next question is about personal statements. So someone asked if there's anything in particular you look for in personal statements, and then also what type of language stands out in personal statements and secondaries, and how do we find and show our voice to admissions?
Yeah, personal statements. Yeah, those. Let's look for authenticity. People telling us, like I mentioned before, their motivation, their values, and their interests. their personal sense of mission in their own authentic voice. You don't want to, you don't want to try to talk like you think, a medical school reviewer wants to hear. Like I said, you don't want to be in impression management mode. You want to act like you want it to be like you want to be of the mindset like I want to get to know this institution. I want them to know me, and you want to be forthcoming and authentic in your communication. That's very important, because if you sound stilted, like you're trying to be something that you're not, that's going to show, and that's not going to go well for you. And I'll take one more question, and then I'm gonna have to cut it off. Unfortunately, it's getting a little late.
Alrighty. So someone asked the final question: does USC Keck give enough time for medical students to study for USMLE Step 1, 2, and 3, including the practical exam?
We do, yeah. The didactic portion of the program is a year and a half, and after that, half of that second year, that second part of that second year is devoted to USMLE study. So yeah, we have a thing called student practice profiles, and they take like the most seen cases throughout the country in a given year, and they put that in the practice profile, and students go study through those as they study through the USMLE Step 1. So they have, and I think they have within that second half of that second year, there's a dedicated like a month or something where they can manage their time and focus exclusively on that. So and similarly for the other USMLE exams as well, there are a lot of plenty of time.
All righty.
Sources.
So we're not going to keep Mr. Richards any longer. It's 6:36, so we owe you 6 minutes back. Thank you again for coming and seeing you again. And yeah, and we will get we'll post the slides after the event the next day or two on the website. And again, thank you again for making time for us. And sorry we couldn't get to all the questions, but hopefully we got to a lot of them.
Yeah, and you can share my medadmin at usc.edu.
Yeah, we shared the link tree, and then also the thing as well.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, I can't give you individual advice, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the program. Just email me there.
And somebody put also, how do you know about medical conferences? We repost a lot of those on our social media. We don't send out emails for every single one, because then you'll be getting like 30 emails a day. But if you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, what's the other ones? All the other channels, we repost a lot of events.
Yeah. Also, if you want to email me at our MedAdmit email address and let me know that you're interested in any public facing like information sessions, I'll keep your email, and I can let you know when we have anything open to the public.
Thank you very much, and thank you, and have a great weekend. And hopefully, I don't know how hot it is in SoCal, but we're burning in NorCal. So.
Oh yeah, I heard. I have a cousin in Stockton. He said it was burning up there.
Oh yeah, Stockton. Yeah, Stockton's always. But yeah, I'm in Oakland right now, and it's hot, and most of the places don't have AC, so it's like.
Yeah, we don't have AC in my place, but luckily we're kind of near the coast, so it's not quite as hot as like the Inland Empire area. So yeah. Well, thanks, Joe.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate you, and hope to hear from you again soon. All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care.